You had said at the outset that this was not about re-election first. Is it about re-election now?
We have primaries. No, when I'm saying what people have done in this caucus is not about re-election. They've done things that were very tough. They've done things that were very, very difficult politically. And so that's not what this is about. We're talking about things that were done in spite of the fact that it could hurt people in their candidacies. And we're well aware of that. And it's important to us to make it clear that we not only have done those things in the past, but that we will continue in an even-numbered year to do the things that have to be done for the state of Ohio.
Just to follow up on that, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Huffman mentioned Senate Bill 5. Are you going to be looking at those issues that you think got traction this, in this coming year, or just to clarify, or are you pretty much, the people have spoken and we're not going to touch this?
What we'll be looking for is if there is any consensus between some of the labor leaders indicated that there were things here that could be done. Some of them have done those things at the local level. So we will be looking for those people who are elected officials at the local level, and we will be looking to labor leaders who have an idea that something can be done which will be forward-looking. We also obviously are going to have to go through a very serious examination of the retirement systems, and that has nothing to do with the former, but it is a challenge that we face in order to keep one of the best and most generous retirement systems in the country in good shape. So we're going to be doing a lot in areas that are going to bring us together with labor leaders to hear their views in this particularly important work.
And specifically, are you going to be holding hearings on certain topics, or are you just...
Yes. In the retirement area, for the first time, the Retirement Study Commission has gone outside of the group of people who have advised and counseled them in the past and have sought out a, if you will, third party, since there are 5 systems, a 6th party perhaps, to go over these things and give counsel and advice. That contract has been entered into by the Retirement Study Commission, and we will perhaps have a different view than has been given to us in the past by some of the experts. And I'm not demeaning their work. I'm simply saying that it's time that we perhaps looked at the work of a different group. So far as those other things are concerned, I have no idea what the local people will come forward with. I don't know what the leadership of labor unions will come forward with. During the entire time that we were talking about Senate Bill 5, I had the privilege of working with a number of labor leaders, and I would think that we could continue to do that. I would hope so.
Speaker, on workers' compensation, a lot of these principles for BWC reform sound very familiar. A lot like what Administrative Bureaus says we're already working on. Has the caucus given up on the idea of introducing private competition, or looking at other sorts of legislation?
To answer the first part of your question, yeah, a lot of what we're looking to codify are things that the Bureau, the Director of Bureau of Workers' Compensation has been working on internally and administratively. We feel very strongly that it's important that we codify some of that, strengthen it, and make sure that it has some lasting effect. What can be done with a pen can be undone with a pen. And so we want to make sure that some of the strongest parts remain whole. And we have been in meetings with the director and the administration also in crafting some of these reforms that are being done administratively currently. With respect to the second part of your question, one of the things that became apparent, particularly as Representative Peterson and I really started reading down through some of the options on what to do with the workers' compensation system in the state of Ohio, that it was probably more prudent and made more logical sense to study something before changing it. If you ever remember your high school interviewing days with Henry Ford having interviewed an executive, and the executive salted the food before he ever tried it, and then wondered why he didn't get hired, and Henry Ford said something to the effect of, why would I want to bring somebody on board who wants to change something they don't know? And I think that was a lesson that we've started to learn, was that we really need to dig deep, and wade far into the workers' compensation It's interesting, in the state of Ohio, there is no national platform in which we can measure or benchmark any best practices from one state to another state. So an employer can come to me and argue that our workers' compensation program is more expensive, but he can't prove it. I can argue that it may be effective or ineffective in a whole host of ways, but I can't document it. I can think it and I can see it, but I can't touch it. And until we can actually wrap our arms around what that means, it makes more logical sense to step back, study, improve what we can, bring it up to our possible best practices in the state of Ohio. Once we have it in best practice format, then measure it. And I think that's a logical approach, at least in my eyes, for us to move forward.
Last session's study was inadequate then?
No, last study, it was like getting through your undergraduate degree, quite frankly. We're multitasking. We're doing a lot of stuff in this General Assembly. The focus is clearly on jobs, and yet we are capable of doing more than one thing, and we have accomplished a lot in other areas. But literally every time we master our way through a portion of the program, another portion we need to balance. So no, the study was by no means not well founded, not well used, but certainly sets a foundation that we're going to. I think the reforms you're going to see in the legislation you're going to see in 2012 are going to balance quickly with the hard work that we've done and get us thrown fast into the next step.
As for the speaker, the